Chaguanas East. Chaguanas, are you in a good spirit? I am in a good spirit because I'm here. Kamla is in a drunken spirit. Here in the flesh tonight, here in the flesh is our Honorable Prime Minister, George Richard Young, Senior Counsel, energetic, brilliant. Our political leader, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, listening in to us. My colleagues who have shared the stage with me, Richie Sukai from Chaguanas East, Adam Hussain from Caroni Central, Mukesh Ram Singh from Claxton Bay, and all of the other visiting candidates who are going to be the next MPs come April 28th. I also acknowledge all of our visitors, our guests, our deputy political leaders, campaign manager, my colleague Foster Cummings, party executives, and of course, good night to you all and good night to our listening audience. Tonight we're talking business and we're talking diversification, right? And I must talk a little bit about Tanku's polls. He calls them growth polls. I say those are the polls that they dance on. But what about a place to talk business on in Chaguanas? Because Chaguanas is a hub of economic activity, commercial activity. And my brother spoke about the traffic, and the traffic is because there's a lot of activity going on here. And Chaguanas truly represents the economic landscape of Trinidad and Tobago. From mom and pop shops, parlors, small businesses, family businesses, large businesses, malls, all through this borough of Chaguanas. And here as well, you would find every sector. You would find every banking institution present in Chaguanas. When you look at tourism, the Caroni Swamp is right here. Agriculture flourishes in Caroni Central and in Felicity. And there are a number of retail and distribution companies, construction, manufacturing. There are 5 e-tech parks in Chaguanas alone, all done under a PNM government. And there are medical and all of the other services. It is the hub of business. So we're talking diversification, and I want to say, it's always that the PNM not doing anything. I want to say that the PNM has always diversified our economy. We have always had a diversification agenda, from oil and gas to petrochemicals to manufacturing. We are the ones who put all of the concessions in place to ensure that we had a diversified agenda to buffer our economy. But over the last 10 years, we in the Ministry of Trade and Industry and many of my other colleagues who have a business agenda as well within their ministries, we've embarked on an aggressive trade and an investment program. And particularly in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, we focus on the non-energy side of it. And I'm pleased to report, and you know that there have been substantial reports and good results coming out of the business that we are undertaking. And I can tell you, it's only because PNM governments have always been led by sound, astute, and sober leadership. That's why we're in this position. That's why we're in this position. And when you look a little bit at our macroeconomic outlook and you look at the kind of growth we've been having despite COVID and a lot of other interferences, geopolitical interferences and setbacks as well. This country has had successive economic growth in the last 3 years. And then when you look on the non-energy side, there's also been steady growth as well. And I look at the non-energy side, and when I speak to the non-energy side, I'm talking agriculture, tourism, services, which is very, very strong, and also manufacturing. And on the non-energy side, the kind of output we have had is in 2024, $107.9 billion. And I compare that $107.9 billion with output in 2015. And do you know what that is? $61 billion. My friends, 75% growth in output. And that is clear evidence of sound policies, but it's also evidence of diversification. But we still have more to do. But underpinning all of that growth in the non-energy side, you would see that services are strong. So we look at something called trade and repairs, and that includes all sorts of distribution, wholesale, retail, and that underpins both the energy side and the non-energy side. And I'll give you the figure. So the last figure we had in 2024, trade and repairs represented $38.1 billion, contributing to a projected 24.6%. Let me go back to 2015. The figure then was only $28.7 billion, representing a 32% growth under PNM governments. And you can look around. All of the commercial activity, all of the business activity around you is contributing to that figure, trade and repairs. And all this talk about 6,000 businesses closing down, they're blah, blah, blah. There's no evidence of that. No evidence of that. And when you look at another strong performance in terms of the services, there's the financial and insurance activities. And that again is as a result of the energy sector and the non-energy sector. Because if they're all doing well, they're going to need financial services and other professional services. And that figure is a whopping $10.1 billion. But when I look at manufacturing, and I exclude petroleum and chemical products, but I also include what's happening in terms of iron ore. We make something called DRI, which we export to the States, and the other things like scrap iron, which we export to the States and so on. We see that in 2024, the figure was and we're talking output, $10.6 billion, contributing to 6.8%. That's the projected figure. But of course, what was it in 2015? 8.3 billion. My friends, a 28% increase in terms of manufacturing output. And I can tell you that all of the subsectors in manufacturing are doing well. I love manufacturing. So whether it is food and beverage, whether it is leather, wood, paper, printing, textiles, clothing, we are doing better and better. And we are seeing more and more entrants into these sectors, and they're coming in at the level of the micro and the small businesses as well. So clearly, there's been strong growth in our services industries and it's strong growth in our manufacturing as well. But we drill down further. Why is manufacturing so important? It is important. There are 60,000 persons employed in the manufacturing sector, but it's important. Yes, it creates jobs, but it also drives exports, it fosters innovation, and it builds economic resilience. And we in the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the wider government have always enjoyed good relations among all the chambers and other business organizations with the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association. And together, we've come up with a number of initiatives to boost that sector more and more, including the Export Booster Initiative and our trade missions. And I can tell you that I support the manufacturers on trade missions. And we have gone to those new markets and extra-regional markets, to Ghana. We've gone to China, to Canada, to Panama, to Brazil, looking for business. And I can tell you that the results are there because we check the containers after. And on average, there are at least 60 new containers of goods being exported out of Trinidad and Tobago after each mission. So they've been doing very well. And these manufacturers can continue to utilize all of our bilateral and multilateral agreements. And I can tell you in the ministry that we've worked very closely to complete what is the partial scope agreement on Chile, a market of about 17 million persons. We have done 5 rounds of negotiations, and we will in fact conclude very soon. We're doing a partial scope agreement with Curacao, small market of just about, it's under 200,000 persons, but then of course there's neighboring Bonaire and so on, and there are more than 1 million tourists in that market, so all of those markets are good. Also to support and to undergird all of the work that is being done are the appointments of commercial officers and attaches in London and in the USA, in serving Canada as well, in Jamaica, in Panama, in Guyana. And already we are seeing the results of that. And at the Exim Bank and through the Ministry of Finance, great support has been given to all of our importers of basic foods and also to all of our manufacturers who are importing inputs into their final products. And I could tell you, of the 193 companies that benefit from the more than $1 billion that have been extended to our manufacturers, 87% of them are to our SMEs. That's the kind of support that we give to the SMEs. And of course, this is not the time to tell you about all of the grants that we've done for these SMEs as well. And in the last few years, in the last 5 years, we have completed the Maruga Agro-Processing Park. And there are 5 shells, all are occupied. And just beyond here, the most modern park, the Phoenix Park Industrial Estate, almost fully tenanted. There are 30 committed investments amounting to 836 million and providing jobs for 1,600 persons. Factory Road in Chaguanas, fully tenanted as well. I mean, they're all tenanted, but they're going to be building. That is going to be soon completed with investments close more than $700 million and creating jobs right here in Chaguanas, 1,100 jobs. So much so that we are going to build another park, the Dow Village Industrial Park. And I want to tell you, it is only the PNM government that has built industrial parks in Trinidad and Tobago, all 18 of them under successive PNM governments. So we're doing a lot, but we do also taking care of our young people. And more than 500 of them, we are preparing them for the world of work in manufacturing. And those are 500 young persons involved in apprenticeship programs and ready for woodworking and for yachting and for steel pan and for the manufacturing sector and so on. More than 500 of them enrolled. But we are also doing the institutional reforms to support it. And we're going to open formally tomorrow what is the Special Economic Zones Authority, which will offer incentives not only for foreign direct investment, but also for local direct investment as well. Very attractive concessions, including a 15% corporation tax, but also no VAT, no duties, no property tax. So business persons, I want you to listen in tomorrow and learn more and more about the Special Economic Zones regime. We have also revamped our Export TT and Invest TT, and we now have what is Global Trinidad and Tobago, our Trade and Investment Promotion Agency. But as I said to you, services are doing well. And let me tell you about one other sector that has done very well under this regime, and that is the business process outsourcing sector. Very, very important to the economy. And when we came in office, there was only one operating entity within the BPO sector, one local entity. My friends, today I'm proud to say that we have 13 operating entities within the BPO sector, 9 of which are foreign. And they have created 1,000 jobs. I'm sure there are people in this room who are now employed by a PPU because they are here in Chaguanas as well. And those very entities that are here are also expanded so that there's expected to be another 1,600 jobs by the end of 2025. All told, 4,600 jobs under this PNM government. But also in the agricultural sector, I touched on it just a bit, we are revitalizing the agricultural sector. That industry is tax-free under the PNM, and there are a number of incentives and grants and several initiatives by my good friend here, Foster Cummins, by the ministry responsible for youth as well. And we are working as well in the Ministry of Tourism. We're talking diversification. And my friend Randall Mitchell has been doing a lot and ensuring we have the right incentives within the tourism sector as well. And there's continuous marketing of destinations and expansion of airlift. You would know that Frontier Airways is now in Trinidad and Tobago. You would have read in the news that Air Canada is returning to Trinidad and Tobago. And there's every evidence of a very successful cruise tourism industry. You're having more and more cruise liners coming into Trinidad and Tobago. And in the maritime sector, under the Ministry of Works and Transport, there is the yachting sector, which had ground to naught with COVID. We've brought that back up and running. Still more work to do, but to ensure that that sector was revitalized, we provided 140 grants to all of those skilled workers in the yachting sector, 140 small businesses benefiting from our policies and our incentives as well. So there's every evidence that we're doing a lot when it comes to diversification. But we are very forward thinking, and we will continue to diversify the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. Why? Because we have a highly skilled workforce, we have reliable ICT and telecommunications and utilities infrastructure, we have a strong connectivity network with bustling and efficiency in airports, we are well placed below the hurricane belt, between the Americas, and we are signatory to so many trade agreements that we have access to more than 1 billion customers. So I'm telling you that we are going to continue the diversification agenda in the manufacturing sector, and we are seeing high potential opportunities in agro-processing, in cocoa derivatives, and we're going to be talking a lot more about that, pharmaceuticals and nutraceuticals. We want to find niche areas and modernize all of our ancestral herbal remedies and cures. That can make good business. So we're looking at all of that. We also see the carnival industry being ripe for expansion. And our Honorable Prime Minister spoke, I know I might get this wrong, about an innovation council for arts and creatives. And that's going to boost our carnival industry. We know it well. And if we know it well, it means that we must package it and we must export it. And we must utilize all of the persons that are involved in making costumes, logistics, event planning. Nobody knows how to promote and organize a fete more than us. And so we can show it to the world and export our services and earn foreign exchange. A lot of significant foreign exchange potential there. And then there's potential in the digital entertainment industry with all of the young people like as well. That is growing worldwide. You're talking about film, production-related services, animation, special effects, linkages to the music industry, advertising, marketing, and so on. Remember I told you, we are a skilled and creative workforce. We want to position Trinidad and Tobago as a regional hub for ICC services to attract investments. And there will be continued work in the maritime sector. The La Brea dry dock facility that we've been talking about, poised to capture the South American and Panamanian shipping vessel. But it's ideal for dry docking and ship repair, etc. And then, of course, we see a wave of activity again possibly with the investment in the marinas, in 2 marinas, in Tobago and in Trinidad. And don't think that we are sleeping on it. We are doing all of the necessary approvals to ensure that when the investment is ready, it is a go. And even in tourism, you would have seen that our Prime Minister was able to get Butch Stewart's son, Adam Stewart, back in Tobago to discuss the possibility of sandals coming back to Tobago. And I can tell you, you're going to find there's some other hotel stock coming into Tobago, and that is the Marriott Rocky Point Hotel, just finishing up all of the requirements at the level of the EMA and so on. So what I'm saying is that we have diversified. We understand the importance of diversifying, and we are going to continue on that diversification trajectory. But what does the UNC have planned for us? We're hearing about Tanku's 10 growth goals. We heard about that before. We heard that story because they had it in their 2010 manifesto. Did they diversify this economy? The answer is no. So all of these growth goals, blah, 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 nothing. So I want to tell you all, don't be fooled. And he has the nerve to talk about economic zones because we have put in place special economic zones. That's what he's talking about, agro-processing parks. We were the first to put an agro-processing park in this country in Moruga. But I think I have to close. But what I want to tell you, my friends, is that there is every confidence in the economy by the business sector in Trinidad and Tobago. Whether it is manufacturing, construction, warehousing, there is confidence here. And we are seeing a wave of new products. Locally made ghee here in Trinidad and Tobago. Vertical farming, doing mushrooms and greens, all of our dehydrated products being exported to the world, vegan ice cream from a very young entrepreneur. So a lot is happening. And I'm telling you that our manufacturers are reinvesting. In 2024 alone, there were 88 reinvestments amounting to $2.27 billion by our manufacturers, creating an additional 1,800 jobs. And I can tell you, from 2015 to now, the Ministry of Trade and Industry has facilitated more than $19 billion in investments and created close to 10,000 jobs. So we have been doing much when it comes to employment generation. But let me just quickly tell you about this thing again, this devaluation, Miss blah, 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 with her economic plan. And using fancy words like, we're floating the dollar. We know it, Cammy. That is the same as devaluation. And I want you all to think, all of the plans and that the ideas that they're giving you, that amounts to $20 billion to add to the deficit. $20 billion. Who's going to pay for that? How are they paying for that? I'm talking now about a devaluation of $15 to 1. Do you know what that means? Are any of you old enough to remember the 1980s? I remember it. There were difficult times because oil prices collapsed, the economy plummeted, the NAR went to the IMF. There was a devaluation in 1985, another one in 1988. Businesses fell apart, jobs were lost, public sector was cut. Again, inflation skyrocketed. And to the young people, if you do not know what I'm talking about, ask your parents, ask your grandparents, because you have to be wise to understand the very negative effect of this kind of conversation and these proposals that Cami and her bunch have put on the table. Devaluation is going to mean that your cost of living is going to go up. We are importers. We still import $7 billion of food. Your grocery bill will be more than doubling. Your salary will not be doubling. And she tells you about a 10% salary increase. It cannot match the kind of massive inflation and price increases that we are going to have. So I want to tell you that devaluation and these promises equal pain. It's pressure. And pressure and pain is not sustainable. Her economic plans, Cammie's plans, are not sustainable. Her 15-to-1 devaluation is not sustainable. Putting her back in office is not sustainable. And when she comes to you for her vote, or any of her cronies come to you for their vote, blah, blah, blah. And of course, it is only the PNM. It is only us who can do right for the citizens of this country. I want to tell you together, we will build a brighter future under the leadership of our brilliant and dynamic Prime Minister, Stuart Young. And we will start a new chapter for our beloved nation. But first, April 28th, you must wake up, go out in your numbers, pick up all your friends, all of your relatives, and you must go to your polling station and put your X by the balizy. And on that night, we will celebrate, and it's in the Bible. We will be joyous and we'll be dancing in the streets of Chaguanas, and we will all be saying in unison, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail. Good night.